Blasphemous is a hardcore, dark, and brutal 2D nonlinear platformer developed by the Game Kitchen and published by Team 17 Digital Limited. It is a game that combines fast-paced, skilled combat of a hack-and-slash game with a deep and evocative narrative core. Submerging yourself in this dark fantasy is definitely not a hard task. The game launched on September 10th on the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and the PC. I am currently playing it on the PC, which I did want to tell you all that I was lucky enough to receive a review copy of this title, and even though I did, all of these opinions are my own, and I am genuinely excited to discuss this game with you all. This title was actually funded by a Kickstarter 2 years ago, and I regret to say that I had not heard of this project. This game ended up with nearly 10,000 backers and $333,000 worth of funding to help progress the development, but the Game Kitchen decided to launch the campaign for two major reasons. One was to remain creatively independent while giving life to the title, but also to develop the game towards its community of players in an open fashion, which they did with their previous game, The Last Door. I am someone that does not back a lot of crowdfunded projects, but to hear such wholehearted reasons that was not just about funding, to hear the devotion put into this title is so refreshing. Blasphemous is set in one of the most barbaric, gruesome lands I think I have ever seen in a game, named Custodia, a location where religion is of utmost importance. You are placed in the doomed land in the wake of the Age of Corruption, during which most of the population was transformed into beasts as a punishment for their inadequate worship, and now we, of course, are the ones dealing with the aftermath of this crazy scenario that is happening. Even though I received this game on Steam, within just a few minutes of entering the game, I could tell this is not a title that you want to play with a keyboard. The keybinds are just a bit bizarre, with attack being bound to K, left shift being dash, and you cannot actually rebind every action. So instead of figuring out which you could and could not change, I personally decided to play it with a controller, which, to be fair, I end up doing for most Metroidvanias I play on the PC anyway. Once you find the right keybinds, or you use the controller of choice, the gameplay definitely does not disappoint. When you play this game, the creatures you fight are very powerful and do contain a wide range of combat styles. You are not fighting the same mob for a large chunk of the game, which is so nice. Nothing feels too repetitive, and as for the gameplay itself, things like jumping, dodging, and blocking are very responsive. But you do have to deal with things like healing animations that are just too long in a boss fight that can hurt more than help. I do understand that they want to make it so you have to time when you heal, and you really have to think about it, but it is just too long even in most average situations. There also is not a lot of customization in terms of strategies since you only have a handful of moves and abilities. I wish that you had just a few more options, whether that would be different potions, spells, or even combat abilities. Though there was room for it to grow, the combat in the game is very clean and very enjoyable once you get the hang of it. And even once you do, enemies can still prove to be worthy opponents. Even though it may not be the most innovative, I really loved the gameplay. I thought that it was well executed, and I never found a moment where things felt too repetitive or dull. I do think that the platforming itself is well done, but I noticed that sometimes the level design is not as thought out as it could be, such as some parts of the walls that you are supposed to scale with your sword. The parts you connect with are just slightly too out of reach, which if you do not connect to, can lead to you falling to your death. But luckily that was only in a few spots, and it really did not affect my view on the platforming overall. I've also had some problems with the ladders. The damn ladders, they are my one weakness in this game. One obvious draw to this game is the art design. It draws heavily from Spanish architecture, music, and religious works, which they portray well, but this game has a very out there concept when it comes to everything. Mobs, bosses, and even the story. But the retro pixel art style is done very well, and I definitely appreciate what they did with this title and the risks that they took, and I do think that they paid off quite well. Overall, I really did enjoy my time playing Blasphemous. I think that it is a unique, brutal experience that is challenging but also well executed. And what it does not provide in innovation for gameplay, it makes up for in the art. Nothing is subtle in the universe they are portraying, and they did an amazing job at doing so. I think that this is definitely a game you should try out if you enjoy platformers, rich story games, and you will definitely enjoy this title if you are a fan of Castlevania. But that was my Blasphemous retrospect. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give this video a like, and of course if you did not, feel free to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, and consider supporting the channel via Patreon through the links in the description. But I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.